Giant monkfish is one of the most commercially valuable deep-sea fish, usually living in the cold ocean floor, where light can hardly penetrate. Catching them is a complex process, requiring techniques, experience and specialized equipment. First, fishermen must identify the fishing grounds, usually areas with depths of several hundred to thousands of meters below the water surface, where the seafloor is flat or has a terrain of trenches, creating favorable conditions for giant scad to live and feed. Satellite positioning systems, fish finders, sonar and radar are used to detect schools of fish moving on the bottom. Once the location is determined, fishing boats begin to drop giant bottom trawls or specialized longlines. Trawls used for scad have an extremely sturdy structure, with large mesh. The mouth of the net is reinforced with a metal frame, and there are wheels and lead buoys on both sides to maximize the net's expansion when sweeping across the seabed. When the net is pulled, it collects all the bottom creatures. Including the giant scad, into the net bag behind. This process lasts for hours, even days, depending on the depth and density of the fish. In addition to the trawl, some modern ships use industrial bottom fishing systems, including thousands of hooks with baited small fish or fresh squid, dropped along the seabed. The giant scad is a slow hunter but is easily attracted to fresh bait. So when they bite the hook, the fisherman will slowly pull the fishing line up to the deck. Each time they can collect hundreds of fish weighing tens of kilograms. After the net or hook is pulled up, the giant scad with its large body, thick skin, big eyes and flat body is immediately brought to the deck. Here, the fishermen quickly classify and pre-process it by cutting off the gills and removing the intestines to keep the fish meat from spoiling during long-term storage conditions. The largest fish can be more than 2 meters long and weigh hundreds of kilograms, and are often kept separately for auction or export. The ship's deep-sea cold storage system instantly freezes the fish at extremely low temperatures, preserving the quality of the meat throughout the weeks-long journey at sea. Although the process of catching giant scad fish brings great profits, it also faces many challenges. Bottom trawling affects the deep-sea environment, disrupts the ecosystem, destroys coral reefs and shelters for many species. Therefore, a number of countries and international organizations have issued regulations on quotas, prohibited fishing areas or sea rest periods to protect resources. Fishermen are now also applying more sustainable methods such as using industrial handlines instead of full-scale trawling, to be successful in catching giant scad fish. In addition to investing in modern boats, fishermen also need knowledge of ocean currents, climate, biological habits of fish species and coordination throughout the operation. Every sea voyage is an arduous adventure, facing waves, storms and potential dangers in the deep ocean. But the reward is precious catches of giant ox tonguefish, providing an abundant food source for the international market and bringing great income to those working in the sea. The stage after catching giant monkfish is equally important, because proper preservation and processing directly determines the commercial value of this fish species. On the deck, after the fish are brought up, skilled fishermen conduct preliminary cleaning by removing the organs and washing away the blood to avoid spoiling the meat during long-term transportation. The meat of scad fish is rich in nutrients, high in protein, and low in fat, so it needs to be kept cold immediately in deep freezers at temperatures from -40 to -60 degrees Celsius. This is the ideal preservation condition to help the fish retain its flavor. color and freshness when transported to the mainland. Small fish are often packaged right on the ship, placed in specialized boxes with insulation and labeled with traceability labels. With giant fish, processing requires a lot of manpower. Sometimes using supporting machines to cut them into pieces, then freezing them. Once the ships dock, the giant scads are transported directly to seafood processing plants, where workers continue to sort them according to size, meat quality, and market demand. Some are sold whole to serve high-end restaurants or international seafood auctions, especially in Japan, where the deep-sea fish is considered a rare ingredient for sashimi and sushi. Most of the other output is filleted, cut into pieces, vacuum-packed, and frozen before being exported around the world. In addition, the skin of the giant scads can also be used in the leather industry, creating high-end products such as wallets, belts, and shoes, while the bones and byproducts are processed into fish meal, fish oil, or animal feed. Every part of this fish is valuable, so almost nothing is wasted. However, along with the huge economic benefits, the scads fishery also has many potential risks. Fishermen have to work continuously in harsh conditions, big waves, strong winds, cold nights, dangerous ocean depths, and fatigue due to lack of sleep during long sea trips. Occupational accidents such as being caught in a winch, slipping on a wet deck, or encountering a sudden storm can happen at any time. Therefore, in addition to professional knowledge, seafarers also need a strong spirit, strong will, and collective solidarity to be able to complete the trip safely. In addition, overfishing for many years has significantly reduced the population of giant scad. This is a slow-growing, long-lived species that can live for several decades, so the rate of population regeneration cannot keep up with the intensity of human exploitation. Therefore, many coastal countries and conservation organizations have applied strict management policies such as fishing quotas, limits on the size of fish that can be caught, or even banning fishing in some areas to restore resources. These efforts aim to balance economic benefits and the responsibility to preserve the deep-sea ecosystem. The fishing of giant scads is not only a livelihood, but also reflects the ingenuity, courage and ability to conquer the sea of humans. From determining the fishing grounds, casting nets, pulling fish, to preserving, processing and commercializing, all are associated with sweat, effort and trade-offs. Each successful catch not only brings income to fishermen, but also contributes to bringing this rare seafood resource to the dining tables of millions of people around the world on a real-life giant monkfish hunt. Everything starts while the boat is still in port. The fishermen spend days preparing, checking the engine system, fish finders, winches, cables, bottom nets, and thousands of baited hooks. The bait is usually small fish such as herring, mackerel, or squid, which are kept refrigerated to preserve freshness. On board, the freezer compartment is pre-cooled, and the tanks and processing equipment are thoroughly disinfected. Once the boat leaves port, the long journey begins, taking them hundreds of nautical miles out to the cold deep sea where the giant smelt lives. The first day at sea is usually spent searching for fishing grounds. The captain and technicians constantly monitor the sonar screen, Locating schools of fish at the bottom, they use the distinctive echoes from the bottom to detect the presence of giant smelt, which usually stay close to the bottom and move slowly. When the signal is clear enough, the whole group begins to prepare to drop the trawl net or the tens of kilometers long bottom line fishing line. The scene of dropping the net is always the most bustling. Dozens of fishermen coordinate. Control the speed of the net. Place heavy weights. Attach buoys to keep the appropriate opening. The giant net is let drift along the seabed, which can take up to several hours to complete. If using bottom line fishing, they have to carefully attach each bait hook and drop it to a depth of hundreds of meters. Where darkness prevails forever, the next hours are a tense waiting time. The ship drifts in the middle of the ocean. The waves crash constantly, and at the bottom are giant fish surrounding the bait. Sometimes the fishermen have to wait all night, observing the signal on the device to know whether the fish are caught in the net or not. When the time comes to collect the net, the whole ship enters the most tense phase. The winch roars. The cable is stretched so tight it almost breaks, pulling up the heavy nets. Each giant scadfish gradually appeared on the water surface, with its large flat body and round black eyes shining under the deck lights. There were giant fish weighing up to hundreds of kilograms, requiring many fishermen to join forces to bring them onto the deck. This scene was always exciting, but also dangerous because the fish struggled violently, possibly causing people to fall or get injured. After bringing the fish onto the boat, the fishermen quickly processed them that night. They used sharp knives to cut open the belly. Remove the gills, wash them with cold seawater, and then put them in the freezer. The work had to be done quickly and accurately, because if there was a delay, the outside temperature and natural decomposition would reduce the quality of the meat. Experienced fishermen could do this in a few minutes, performing the task so skillfully that it was almost automatic. Day after day, the work was repeated, casting the net, waiting, pulling the net, processing and preserving. Each sea voyage usually lasts from 2 to 4 weeks, until the freezer is full of fish or the boat has used up all its fuel and bait. When the boat returns to land, the fishing port becomes bustling. The giant buckets of scad are unloaded, weighed, sorted and sent straight to processing plants or auction markets. Monkfish fish can bring in thousands of dollars, bringing great income to the fishermen, but in return are arduous days and nights drifting at sea. Hunting giant monkfish is not only a livelihood, but also a confrontation between humans and the deep sea. Where endurance, experience and courage determine everything when the ship loaded with giant monkfish docked. The atmosphere at the fishing port became unusually lively. Cranes and forklifts were mobilized to unload each box of fish weighing hundreds of kilograms from the freezer to the deck. The white cold air from the freezer rose like mist, covering the entire area, making people clearly feel the value of each batch of fish just brought back from the deep ocean. After many days at sea, the fishermen's faces were sunburned and tired, but their eyes were bright with joy, because the fruits of their labor were now about to be priced and sold to the market. At the auction market, work began early in the morning. The largest giant scad fish were neatly arranged on the floor, each with a tag clearly stating the weight, date of catch and fishing grounds. Appraisal experts walked along the rows of fish, carefully observing the skin color, firmness of the meat, freshness of the eyes and gills to classify the quality. Only the highest quality fish are given priority for high-end restaurants or direct export. Soon after, the auction begins. Buyers come from many places: seafood dealers, large restaurants, international importers, even representatives of famous fish markets such as Tsukiji or Toyosu in Japan. The bustling voices, the rapid pounding of hammers, and the tense atmosphere permeate the entire room. A giant scad weighing more than 200 kilograms can be auctioned for tens of thousands of dollars. Depending on its quality and rarity, experienced traders can tell at a glance which fish will bring the highest profit when processed into sashimi, fillets, or exported whole. After the transaction is completed, the fish are quickly put into specialized cold storage, then transported by refrigerated trucks or planes to consumer markets. The best fish often end up in Japanese restaurants, where each piece of soft white meat is delicately sliced and served as a luxury dish. Others are processed in factories, filleted. Vacuum-packed, labeled with a country of origin, and shipped around the world. The profits from a successful fishing trip are not only enough to cover the costs of fuel, bait, and labor, but also bring a large income to the entire fishing community. The joy lies not only in the numbers on the books, but also in the feeling of victory over the sea after many days of hard work. But as soon as the joy subsides, the fishermen are busy preparing for the next trip. They know that giant scads are not easy to find. Each harvest is a challenge, and the future of the fishing industry depends on their ingenuity, perseverance, and responsibility to preserve natural resources. The auctions at the fishing port, with their yellow lights, noisy people and the strong smell of fresh fish, are the end of an arduous journey, but also the beginning of a new one as the giant scad fish leave their birthplace to go to luxurious banquets around the world in high-end seafood restaurants, especially in Japan or European countries. Giant tonguefish, after being successfully auctioned, will quickly become the center of attention on the menu. As soon as it is transported to the kitchen, the fish is processed by master chefs with meticulousness and sophistication. Giant tonguefish meat has a firm texture, ivory or light pink color, elegant taste, low in fat but rich in nutrients, so it can be processed into many different dishes. The freshest fish are often cut on the spot into moderately thick sashimi slices, displayed on a wooden tray with ice, garnished with perilla leaves, wasabi and rich soy sauce. When enjoying, diners will feel the natural sweetness spreading, the characteristic crispness of deep-sea fish meat, making the meal a rare luxury experience. In addition to sashimi, giant tonguefish is also filleted into large pieces to be pan-fried with butter and herbs, bringing a rich flavor without being boring. In European restaurants, chefs often grill fish in a charcoal oven, served with white wine sauce and grilled vegetables. Creating a blend of the natural sweetness of the fish and the strong aroma of spices. Some parts of the meat near the belly or back, which are softer and have more collagen, will be used to cook seafood soup, creating a nutritious, warming dish on cold winter days. Not only the meat, the skin of the giant tonguefish is also used. When processed crispy, the fish skin becomes a unique appetizer, both strange and rich in nutritional value. Some luxury restaurants are even creative by using fish skin to wrap sushi or as a topping for modern dishes, creating a new highlight for gourmets. In a luxurious space, with soft yellow lights and sparkling glasses of wine nearby, diners enjoy each slice of giant tonguefish as if they are experiencing a journey from the bottom of the deep sea to a fine dining table. They pay not only for the food, but also for the story behind it, the hard work of the fishermen braving the storms, the ingenuity of the chefs, and the rarity of this deep-sea fish. It is this combination of hardship and quintessence that has turned the giant scad into a symbol of luxury cuisine, although the giant monkfish brings great economic and culinary value. There are many controversies and concerns surrounding the exploitation of this deep-sea fish. The giant tonguefish is a very slow-growing species, has a long lifespan, can live for several decades and takes many years to reach adult size. This makes their populations extremely vulnerable to commercial exploitation pressure. When overfished, the fish population is unlikely to recover quickly, leading to the risk of serious decline or even disappearance from some sea areas. Another problem is the fishing method, especially bottom trawling. Although this type of net is effective in collecting giant tonguefish, it also sweeps away and destroys the seabed environment, which is home to fragile ecosystems of deep water corals, sponges and countless other small creatures. When these ecosystems are destroyed, not only the tonguefish but also many other marine species lose their habitat. Affecting the natural balance in the long term. As a result, many ocean conservation organizations and scientists have spoken out against large-scale trawling of giant scad. Some countries have imposed strict fishing quotas, regulated fishing times,